Now at 5, a new twist in the case of two Bay Area teenagers accused of killing a police officer in Italy. What happened moments before the suspects allegedly confessed to the murder. Good evening, I'm Brian Hackney.
And I'm Juliette Goodrich. Hundreds of mourners and a strong showing of fellow officers gathered at a church in Rome today to pay their respects to Mario Circeo Rega. The widow of the slain police officer escorted her husband's coffin into the chapel. He had returned from his honeymoon just days before being stabbed to death. The Bay Area teens at the center of the investigation: 19-year-old Finnegan Elder and 18-year-old Gabriel Natal Horth. As KPIX 5's Wilson Walker reports, a picture that recently surfaced is raising alarms about how the teens are being treated. Wilson.
Well, look, obviously a huge point of discussion here in Mill Valley. It's making headlines around the world. And in Italy, the case has managed to touch on a number of real hot topics. So the case has become an incredibly passionate one for a number of reasons.
The first, of course, is the fate of this policeman, this carabiniere that was killed in the middle of the street. But there is also a political issue as well, because at the beginning, the police say that the responsible of the killing were people from North Africa. And of course, there is a lot of tension in Italy concerning migration.
In the early hours, it appeared to be a flashpoint over migration from Africa and then the arrest of the two young Americans from Mill Valley. And while the initial round of newspapers carried photos of the newlywed police officer, today the Italian press obtained this photo of one of the suspects in police custody.
Gabriel Natale Horta has a double citizenship, so he's American and Italian because his father is from Italy.
Paolo Mastrolilli is the U.S. bureau chief for Italian daily newspaper La Stampa. He says the photo itself has become a source of controversy.
This is a clear violation of the rights of these two boys. That could void all the proofs or the evidence, the confession that were gathered during that interrogation.
So the blindfold draws the case into Italy's debate over police conduct while raising questions about the prosecution of the alleged killers. The case has become an emotional one for many reasons.
And that, of course, there is a lot of reaction in the United States as well, because this is reminding of the discussion that there were during the case of Amanda Knox, in which the judiciary system in Italy was accused of mistreating her.
I know it has been a little while, and the circumstances of that case in many respects were quite different, but I imagine that is just naturally part of the discussion over there in the coverage of this case.
Yes, of course. This was also a very emotional case.
All right, the Amanda Knox case, of course, is going to come up. In the last 2 minutes before this live shot, a local walked by and told me she frankly thought the boys were being framed. She said, "We've seen this before," not making this up, a suggestion that they're being framed. Now, we should be clear, just about everything we're hearing about this case that we've heard over the weekend is coming from the police and the authorities there in Rome and Italy. That may start to change when we get into next week. The family is said to be trying to make their way over there when it's time to go. So we might get, if not another side of the story, at least more feedback from the families involved and perhaps the U.S. Embassy as well. Again, as I said, all of this mostly coming from the Italian authorities so far, but reaction here in Mill Valley pretty much just stunned that two local high school graduates are in the middle of this. The Tam High released a statement today also expressing shock, and we will see where the story goes from here. The funeral services for the slain officer will be held tomorrow in Rome. Live in Mill Valley, Wilson Walker, KPIX 5.
All right, a lot of information to still gather. In fact, the family member has released a statement, Wilson, so we'll read that right now. Thank you for your report. The Elder family said in a statement today, "We have not been able to communicate with our son since the phone call he made from the police station on July 26th. We plan to go to Rome as soon as the State Department assures us we will be able to see our son. We are also aware of the funeral plans for Officer Rega and wish to be respectful of his family and friends at this devastating time."